Does anybody need a copy of last week's? Somebody got one. Did you need one? Okay. Sandy, would you mind making a copy? Who needs one? You do, Harold does, Lucy does. Okay. Who's on? No, what's on second? What's that? What do you mean you don't need a copy? Yeah. She's getting a copy for Lucy. All right. There is, but it'll throw me off. So I think as long as I don't move around too much, I'll be okay. So we're going to be Joshua getting into chapter 2 now. Let's go ahead and pray, and we'll get started into this. Father, thank you for your goodness to us. Lord, thank you for this privilege we have to study your word together. Pray that you'll help us to be better students, to better understand what your word's saying to us, how to understand it. Lord, I pray that you'd bless our time now today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so we began last week looking at Joshua, and what's going on here is Joshua is taking over for Moses. Moses has passed. Joshua now is going to lead the children of Israel into the promised land, and God is preparing him here in these first few chapters and showing that he is God's chosen man to lead the people of Israel now in Moses' absence. And we looked last week at a few introductory things. If you need the blanks from last week, I can get that to you later. And then we started here into chapter 1, and we didn't get nearly as far as I wanted to. And what we find is that in chapter 1 is that Moses had commissioned Joshua prior, back in the book of Numbers, that he is going to be the replacement for Moses when he dies. And now what God does in chapter 1 is God commissions Joshua and gives a formal commission. And then what we're going to see as we progress here in these first few chapters is that God is going to confirm and settle it in the minds of the people that Joshua is in fact the chosen leader. In fact, we're going to see some parallels to Moses here at the beginning. Lucy needs one. Thank you. So let's go ahead. We're going to be on the back side of this. And we're going to, so the way I have this set up, makes no sense to me now that I'm looking at it. It looks nice on the paper, but it's kind of out of order. So this box here, this gray box, the problem passages, we're going to start at the top of that, the top part of it, because there's two problem passages that you really have to, two big problem passages that you have to deal with in the book of Joshua. One is the situation with Rahab the harlot. Okay, so we're going to be in chapter 2 where we're going to look at that. So you have Rahab the harlot. She's going to lie to protect the spies that come to spy out Jericho for the children of Israel. And then we also have the issue of the slaughter of all of these people in the land. That's what God ordered. When you go into the land, you kill everybody. Kill everybody. Kill all their animals, you destroy all their property, you get rid of all their idols, all their temples. You get rid of any evidence that there is and burn it. Just get rid of it all. That's what they're supposed to do. Well, how do we understand that today? And is that God just being a jerk? Is he being a vengeful God? Is he just coming in and kind of showing favoritism for the children of Israel, and he doesn't like anybody else? Or what exactly is happening? So we got to deal with those. So chapter 2 here, let's look here, verse number 1. It says, Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, go view the land, even Jericho. So when it says that, he's not saying go look at all of the land. He's saying he's specifically saying, go into the land, look at the land that belongs to us, but particularly focus on Jericho. That's what he's saying. Go examine what's Jericho, because we're going to go in and try to fight Jericho. We need to know what we're up against. So that's, I guess they call that reconnaissance. Is that what they call that? That's what he's sending him in for. Get the lowdown on Jericho so we know what we're up against. And they went and came into an harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there. And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, Behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country. Now, if you just read verse 1, if that's all that you had, you might think that, they're coming into Jericho and they're, looking for a good time, and so they spend the night at the harlot's house. But that's not what happened. That's a summary statement, and verse 2 explains why they ended up in the harlot's house. It was told the king of Jericho, saying, Behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country. And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, Bring forth the men that are come to thee, which are entered into thine house, for there be come to search out all the country. And the woman took the 2 men, and hid them, and said thus, There came men unto me, but I wist not whence they were. And it came to pass, about the time of the shutting of the gate, just a second here. Yeah, okay. And it came to pass, about the time of the shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whither the men went, I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them. But she had brought them up to the roof of the house, and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof. And the men pursued after them the way to Jordan unto the fords. Now, that's not talking about a vehicle. The fords. A ford is similar to a bridge, only in reverse. So have you ever gone to like a park where there's a stream or something like that, and the road goes through the stream, and so you have that where the ramp goes down into the water a little bit, and then it comes up on the other side, and you drive through the water. That's a ford. So that's what it's talking about here when it talks about the ford. That's how they got across. They didn't build bridges across, but they built up the land, the ground underneath, so they were able to, where it was really shallow, where they were able to pass through. So that's what this is talking about here. As soon as they, which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate. And before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof. So this is before the men of the city came to find them. So she's hiding them. And as she's in process of hiding, this is the conversation that goes on. Verse 9, she said unto the men, I know that the Lord hath given you the land, that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when ye came out of Egypt, and what he did unto the 2 kings of the Amorites that were on the other side Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom ye utterly destroyed. And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. Now therefore I pray you, swear unto me by the Lord, since I have showed you kindness, that you will also show kindness unto my father's house, and give me a true token, and that you will save alive my father and my mother, and my brethren and my sisters, and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. And the men answered her, Our life for yours, if ye utter this our business. And it shall be, when the Lord hath given us the land, that we will deal kindly and truly with thee. Then she let them down by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall. Now, this is significant because her house is on the wall. Now, what do we know happens to Jericho? The walls come down. Well, all the walls except for her section of the wall comes down. It says, verse 17, And the men said unto her, We will be blameless of this thine oath, which thou hast made us swear. Behold, when we become to the land, thou shalt bind this line of scarlet thread in the window, which thou didst let us down by, and thou shalt bring thy father and thy mother and thy brethren, all thy father's household, home unto thee. Now, Let's think about this for a minute. Because here you have Rahab the harlot. The men come into Jericho, begin to spy it out, and they get discovered. The Jericonians, or whatever you want to call them, they become privy to the fact that these spies are there. And the spies catch word somehow that there are people looking for them. So they go to a place that probably none of us would go to, hopefully. But they go to a place where not too many people would venture to, the house of a harlot. And that's where they hide. She actually brings them in. And what you find as you go through here is she's already been converted to the true God, even before they came. She gave up the idolatry. Because she says there, in verse number 11, our hearts did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. Now watch what she says here. The Lord, your God, He is a God in heaven. Is that what it says? What does it say? He is God in heaven above and in the earth. That means she's acknowledging there is no other God. He's got to be the true one. And so she's been converted. So she's hiding these people, these men. She knows what the plan is. She hides them. Now, the people come looking for her. They have a feeling, well, when you have visitors to a town, a couple guys, well, where do we go look? Well, let's go down to the brothel and see what's going on there. See if we can find them. Knock comes to the door. She opens the door. All right. You can come in and look, but I don't have anybody here. They came in for a little bit, but then they left. They're gone. They left the city already. Is that true? So she lied? Wow. Now this is one of the very difficult passages of Scripture. What do we do with this? There's several of these types of things. So, we have Rahab lying. Then we have Deborah, one of the judges of Israel. How does that work out? Because she's a woman. There's different things like that go on through the Scripture where, this is a very unusual situation, and I don't understand it. Keep your place here. Go with me to Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 11. We'll go through what's here in the notes, and I'll readily admit what I have in the notes is kind of vague. That's on purpose. I have an opinion, or I shouldn't say an opinion, I have a leaning. I kind of lean one way on this. Let's look here. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 31. It says, by faith, the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. That's really interesting. So her bringing the spies in and hiding them, that was an act of faith on her part. What a way to show it, right? Now, let's complicate it just a little bit more. Look over a couple pages to the book of James. James chapter 2. James chapter 2, down to verse number 25. Likewise also, was not Rahab the harlot justified by works when she had received the messengers and had sent them out another way? Well, that's really interesting. Now, obviously we understand that he's not talking about works salvation here. He's talking about the justification of our faith, the proof, the demonstration of our faith. And so James says, didn't she prove her faith when she received those messengers in and sent them out another way? That's really interesting. But notice in both of those places what it does not say that she did. It doesn't mention anything about her lying. Now, let's look at the notes here. Go back to Joshua, and let's look at this first part of the gray box here. So she had the same information everybody else had in the city. Because remember, she says, as soon as we heard these things, our hearts did melt within it. So that's the whole city. The entire city is frightened. Isn't it interesting how you can have a group of people that see the exact same thing and come to entirely different conclusions, have people that come to entirely different conclusions? Like you can look at the Grand Canyon and you get two people up there. One person could say, wow, look what the Colorado River did flowing uphill for millions of years to somehow create this. And then you have another person say, well, yeah, this is evidence of the flood. This happened in 20 minutes. Well, maybe a little longer than that, but I think you get the idea. You're looking at the exact same thing, dealing with the exact same information in front of you, and come to entirely different conclusions. This is exactly what happens here in Jericho. They have been watching, hearing the exploits of the children of Israel and their God as they've been watching. I mean, this has been 40 years. She begins saying, we heard about the drying up of the Red Sea and how you guys crossed it. So they're aware of that. That's pretty miraculous. And we've been hearing what's been going on as you guys have been wandering through the wilderness. Because everybody that's come up against Israel in the wilderness, what happened to them? Destroyed. And now we see, you're coming our way. We see you guys camped. We saw what you guys did to the Amorites where you're staying. It's not good for us. And everybody else in the city, well, they just were scared and kept going on with what they're doing. She and her household came to realize, oh, this is a sign of the one true and living God. And so they trusted him. Now, these spies come. So let's look at this. Verse 18, this scarlet thread is reminiscent of the blood on the doorpost for the nation of Israel. It's a picture of the blood. And you'll hear sometimes the scarlet, people talk about the scarlet thread. It's the gospel message as it's woven throughout the scriptures. This is kind of where that idea comes from. She has a scarlet cord that she ties to her window and hangs it out the outside of the wall. And we know that her house is on top of this wall. But we know that when the children of Israel go in and they circle the city and God knocks the walls down, the only section of the wall that doesn't get knocked down is hers. Because she stays in the house. And the house isn't destroyed. Nobody dies in her house. What is that? That's a picture of the blood. God's passing over in judgment on them. Now notice here. Notice this last point under Rahab. It is important to note that lying is a sin against God. Now this is where the difficulty comes in here. Because lying is a sin against God. God does not commend her for lying, but he does commend her faith, however imperfect it may be. Now, when we look at Hebrews, and when we look at James, she is commended for the faith that she has. Now, should she have lied? I don't know. I'll talk about that in just a second here. But what's commended here is the fact that she believed the true and living God and that these spies were witnesses of him. They were his representatives. And so she was demonstrating faith by hiding it, even though it's imperfect. Now, what about her lying? Should she have lied? I'll give you a few theories. Let me put out a few theories here. Number one, there's a theory that says, well, as long as nobody wasn't getting hurt, then it's okay to lie. And there's some people that hold to that. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody's feelings, it's okay. And obviously that's wrong. Then there's another idea that says, well, she should have just told the truth, said, yeah, they're up on the roof, and just hoped for something to come about or some interruption or something like that to prevent that. Let me tell you where I kind of lean. Let me put out a scenario to kind of maybe liken this to. Let's say you have a young lady police officer, but she looks a little bit younger, and she kind of dresses herself up to look like maybe a 16 or 17-year-old. And she gets on a chat page, and she begins to lure a pervert. Now, is she telling him the truth? Is it wrong for the police to do that? Let me ask you this. If you're a soldier with top secret information, you get captured by the enemy, is it wrong for you to deceive them? Is it wrong to deceive an enemy in order to capture them? I don't know. Fault me if you want to for that. I don't know. So I think of Corrie ten Boom. So Corrie ten Boom lives during the time of World War II in Poland during the time of Hitler, and they're gathering up the Jewish people. And she is a Jew, but as they're gathering up Jewish people, they build a room in their house with a false wall to hide the Jewish people. And so they lied to the Nazis as they were coming by looking for Jews. Was that wrong of her to say, no, I don't have anybody here. You can come in and look. I don't know. I can just say for me, I would do the same thing. I would. I don't know. I kind of lean to the situation here. We live in an extremely fallen and corrupt world, and sometimes both options stink, and you have to choose the lesser of the two evils sometimes. You have two decisions, neither of them are two choices, neither choice is a good choice, but one is less bad. So I'm not saying that her lying was good. It's just it was less bad than turning in the spies and thwarting God's plan, or attempting to thwart God's plan in that way. So maybe that's not a good answer. I don't know, but that's kind of where I'm at. I kind of lean in that because sometimes there are just no good decisions, no good choices, and so you have to pick the best out of the bad ones. It's kind of like politics sometimes. So let's jump over here to Joshua chapter 3 here at the top of the notes, and then we'll call it good for this week. Joshua chapter 3. So this is where God is really going to exalt Joshua in the minds of the people of Israel as the leader. Joshua chapter 3. And we're just going to kind of walk through this. Joshua chapter 3, verse 1. Joshua rose early in the morning, and they removed from Shittim and came to Jordan, he and all the children of Israel, and lodged there before they passed over. And it came to pass after 3 days that the officers went through the host, and they commanded the people, saying, when ye see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, and the priests, the Levites, bearing it, then ye shall remove from your place and go after it. So here, the children of Israel, they're all camped out. And so they're telling them, when you see the priests take up the ark to begin moving, then that's your cue. That it's time to pack up and get ready to go to war. And so that's what they're going to do. Yet there shall be a space, verse 4, between you and it, about 2,000 cubits by measure. He says, come not near unto it, that ye may know the way by which ye must go, for ye have not passed this way heretofore. So 2,000 cubits, that's approximately 3,000 feet. So what is that? A little over half a mile is what the distance is supposed to be between the children of Israel and the Ark of the Covenant and the priests carrying it. So that's a pretty good gap that's there. Joshua said unto the people, sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. And Joshua spake unto the priests, saying, take up the Ark of the Covenant and pass over before the people. And they took up the Ark of the Covenant and went before the people. And the Lord said unto Joshua, this day will I begin to magnify thee in the sight of all Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. And thou shalt command the priests that bear the Ark of the Covenant, saying, when ye come to the brink of the water of Jordan, ye shall stand still in the Jordan. Joshua said unto the children of Israel, come hither and hear the words of the Lord your God. And Joshua said, hereby ye shall know that the living God is among you, and that he will without fail drive out from before you the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Hivites, and the Perizzites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Jebusites. Behold, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth passeth over before you into Jordan. Now therefore take you 12 men out of the tribes of Israel, out of every man a tribe. And it shall come to pass, now watch this. It shall come to pass, as soon as the soles of the feet of the priests that bear the ark of the Lord of all the earth, shall rest in the waters of Jordan, the waters of Jordan shall be cut off from the waters that come down from above. and they shall stand upon an heap. And it shall come to pass, when the people removed from their tents to pass over Jordan, and the priest bearing the ark of the covenant before the people, and as they that bear the ark were come unto Jordan, and the feet of the priest that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the water. Now notice the note here. For Jordan overfloweth all his banks all the time of harvest. So this is actually a spring harvest that's going on here. So you have all the tributaries, everything that's running into Jordan River, and it's overflowed its banks. You know a little bit about that this time of the year. and so the water is exceptionally deep. And so you kind of, I almost picture the priests. So you got 4 priests, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. And the promise is, they don't know where they're at. Okay, they don't know what it's like under the edge of this water. Because for all they know, as soon as they touch the water, they're going to be in over their heads. And so you can just imagine that the priests in the front carrying it, they're kind of like, I think yesterday I was in front. Maybe you guys should be the ones in front today as they're going along. But this is what God says. As soon as the sole of their foot touches that, He's going to stop the water. And not only is He going to stop the water, so what happens, the water that's south of that is going to just kind of drain away and reveal dry ground. And the water where it stopped is going to back up, and it's going to begin to pile up. For 18 miles, it's going to go back. That's pretty impressive. All the way up to the city of Adam, or Adam. And the reason that's significant, that it's so far back, is because a person could say, well, yeah, that was probably just a landslide from the flood, cutting off the water supply. Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of tributaries, the little streams, all the way up those 18 miles that are feeding into the Jordan River at this time. How do you explain them getting cut off too? So the whole purpose of going back so far is to show that this is a miracle that only God can do. He shut off all the water that was coming in to the Jordan River as soon as they touched the water. And he says, verse 16, that the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon an heap very far from the city Adam, that is beside Zaratan. And those that came down toward the sea of the plain, even the salt sea, failed and were cut off, and the people passed over right against Jericho. And the priests that bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firm on dry ground in the midst of Jordan. Now, where's the significance here? So what do we see? God parts the water, stops the water, parts the water for the children of Israel. Who is that reminiscent of? Moses. Remember, God says, what I'm going to begin to do today is I'm going to begin to magnify you in the eyes of the children of Israel. Well, this is where he starts. I'm going to show you this. He cuts off the water, and it piles up. And remember, with Moses, when Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, it took all night. Wind blowing all night for the water to be moved back, and it kind of inched its way across the Red Sea, and the ground was dry. This took place instantly. As soon as the water is cut off, this water drains away, dry ground. As fast as their feet could go through and touch the ground, it was dry. This is a miracle of God that took place. This is kind of like an Elisha type thing. Elijah, the prophet, performed many miracles. But we find when Elisha comes along, what's different with Elisha's ministry? He does a lot of the same miracles, only it's twice as many. It's double. That's similar to what we see here, is the successor. The one who comes next is going to be better than the one before. And this is where we see a type of Jesus Christ here, because Jesus and Joshua have the exact same name in Hebrew, means the Lord, Jehovah saves. And what we see is that the successor, Joshua is not the fulfillment, even though the children of Israel are going to think that for a time. Joshua is not the fulfillment, but one better is coming. And that's the message of the book of Hebrews. He looks at Joshua and he says, no, a better one's come. Another Joshua has come. One who is even greater. And that's the message we have. So notice here in your notes, the crossing of the Jordan River is intended to be reminiscent of the Red Sea crossing for the next generation. It also enforces that God has chosen Joshua just as he did with Moses. So we'll stop there. Any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? Anybody want to argue about something? I'm game. Okay. All right. You're dismissed.